boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, let us discuss about political science. And this short lecture, actually, it is an introductory lecture. And this lecture, we will discuss that what will be our strategy to tackle this subject and bring command on this subject and have creative ideas about this subject in a very critical way. But before going to in the details, let me tell you that you can reach me on the given email writers in academia at the rate of gmail.com. Now let us discuss the strategy that how we will play with this subject and this amazing subject and very in which you will need your analytical skills and creative ideas in order to have good marks in this subject. And I like this subject because of having political thoughts and political philosophers like Aristotle, Machiavelli, and Shawali, and many and thinkers like Shawaliullah, etc. Now, before going into the details of this subject and before starting playing with this subject and let us discuss the contents of this subject that we will cover in this subject. Actually, we will cover this subject in two parts. In part 1, we will study about things like political thoughts. And political thoughts, we will go through Aristotle and many other philosophers like Aristotle, Machiavelli, and Karl Marx, uh, Thomas Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, and many others. And then we will discuss some political thinker like Al-Farabi and Ibn Rushd and Imam Ghazali and Shah Waliullah, Iqbal, Allama Iqbal, and many others. This actually this first part will be included part A and part B. And part A we will discuss Western political thoughts, and part B we will discuss and study Muslim political thoughts. And then we will go towards part B. Then in part B we will discuss what is state system, political concepts like Western and Islamic political concept, comparative politics, political participation, political institution and role of government, and forms of government. After discussing these, we will then discuss local government or self-government, and then we will go towards the second part. And second part we will be having part A and part B. And part A we will discuss comparative analytical study of political system, global and regional integration, and then we will discuss comparative analytical study of political system again, and then we will discuss political movements in India, and then political government and politics in Pakistan, and some international relations concept. These were the contents of the lecture in which we will discuss these things. Now, recommended books. If we talk about recommended books and resources, then I would suggest to go for the recommended books given by SAFE, Self-Actualization Foundation, an online platform. And for resources, I will recommend you a very amazing website, sparknotes.com, and you can also have books which is also recommended by safe online classrooms. The first book is Constitutional and Political History of Pakistan by Hamid Khan, and then politics among nations, the struggle for power and peace. This is written by Hans Hans J. Margentau, Morgenthau. And then we will political thoughts from Plato to present, Jude Harman, and very amazing book. It is rich of structure. You can have command over the psychology of this subject by reading this amazing book, Jude Harman, and foreign authors. And then we will how to prepare. Now an important question arise in your mind, that how to prepare, that how we will prepare this subject. So in order to prepare this subject, first uh, mm, we will discuss we will go through the syllabus, and then for past papers, and then we will watch some videos, and actually in 3 pages we will divide our to cover this subject. In first page we will just go through some resources like safe online platform, in which you can have many lectures on political science, and then in the second page we can just revise our notes, and in the third page we will solve past paper. And then you should be things to avoid. You should be very creative, and you just avoid cramming, because exam will be unpredictable and you can't predict it. And you should be very creative, analytical in order to write on each and every topic. Now we have this amazing journey we have completed till now, and uh, we will collect some quotation and references in order to have good marks in the examination, because quotation and references data will represent your personality in written form, your thoughts in written form. And logically quotation and references sounds very good, so you have to remember some quotation in this regard. Now let us go towards the second slide, which is about why this series of lectures. There are plenty websites, and there are plenty learning platforms, and many resources, and YouTube and Google is full of such resources. But why this? Why? What is unique in this? The first thing that I would like to discuss with you is it is a new way of experiencing learning. You can experience learning through a new way, a creative way, and in audio form you will have these lectures, and you can go through during your walk, and during exercise, during traveling, and you if you want during your flight, you can use these resources, then these lectures, and then thirdly, these will be very friendly, and you can just first of all, it will not just occupy that much space, and you can easily download them and listen and go through them. And you can avoid time, you can save your time, not because these will be not that much time consuming. You can do these activities and spare time. If you can listen to music for hours and hours and can watch a movie for hours, then why not? Why not this wonderful activities? I'm not against music, and I just love music because music is very beautiful, and I just love classical music. But actually, I am just comparing these things and other two germinate the importance of these lectures and your mind, and this can be beneficial for you. So, and now let us summarize our this short lecture. We have discussed about political science, and then we discuss about strategy, contents, recommended resources, and then we discuss about what things we should avoid, how to prepare it, and which I discuss three stages. And then quotation and references, I talk about quotation and references, that why these quotation and references are important. And then at the end, I just discussed why this series of lectures, this series of lectures is important because of the following reasons. And you can ask now questions, and I would love to answer your questions. If you have any, you can put them in comment box, and then I will reply. Uh, um, uh, Now, as we have discussed this lecture series, that why should these lecture series are important. But at the end, I would suggest that be creative, be very analytical, and observe each and everything around yourself, and you can put them, and just you can see the practical implementation of political science, so you can just write these ideas in your question paper and opinions and critical analysis portion. Again, I would like to take your question. If you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, I will leave if you don't have any question. Or you can ask question at the end, and you can suggest me some things so that I can add. These lecture will be in audio form, and you can listen these lecture every time. Thank you very much. Be happy and stay blessed.